From breakthrough strategies to game-changing innovations and cultural shifts, you'll discover the lessons that drive real impact, and we'll dive into the moments that changed everything. Welcome to The Missing Piece with April Reed. Today, I'm joined by Steve Howard, a proven IT operations and people leader who's built a career around leading teams that support large customer bases, complex infrastructures, and mission-critical environments. Steve currently serves as a Director of Information Technology at Mercy Community Healthcare, where he blends technology, service, and purpose, supporting care for the underserved while reflecting values that matter deeply to him. Across roles in healthcare and enterprise environments, Steve has led technology and security initiatives, managed service delivery, strengthened processes, developed talent through coaching and succession planning, and helped organizations navigate ambiguity while driving results. He also brings a unique perspective from his background in psychology from Lipscomb University, which shows up in how he leads teams and communicates with stakeholders, from frontline staff to executive leadership. Today, we're going to talk through leadership, IT service delivery, building healthy teams, and what it looks like to create stability and excellence in the middle of complexity. Steve, thanks for being here. Welcome to The Missing Piece.
Thank you so much, April, for having me today.
Of course. I'm really excited to kind of talk about all the things that you're doing, but first and foremost, introduce yourself. Who is Steve Howard? How did you get into where you are today?
So I'll give you just the high-level overview. I had at Lipscomb University, I had chosen a path of doing psychology. My plan long-term was to get my PhD. Originally, though, I'll backtrack 1 second. I was going to be a psychiatrist. I wanted to do the MD path. And throughout my young career in college, I discovered that I didn't fare so well in some of my undergraduate classes, so chose to kind of switch gears and went into the psychology, and have found a real passion in that, and decided that's the path I want to go down. And then, finished, got my Bachelor of Science, and ended up going and getting my master's. And in the end, one summer, I was working while getting my master's, and I started doing HTML development and found a company in town that needed someone to help build some web pages. And this was back in the early days, early 2000s, or no, yeah, somewhere around in there, 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. And I ended up doing that for a summer, and I was like, I like this. And so I liked helping people. I liked, being involved in that. And then what came next was I was like, I don't know if I like this psychology thing long term. And I kind of like being, helping people technically. And then from there, one day I was driving, and there was a computer firm that's around here that fixes computers. And I just randomly stopped in and said, "Are y'all hiring? I have zero experience." And they said, "Great, we would love to teach you." And
Wow.
yeah, and
I love this.
I know it was so fantastic, because it was like me starting over from being in college and going, I know nothing. And I was so happy and that I was helping people that I just dove in head first and learned everything on my own. And that kind of led to, learning networking and learning supporting people. And then after being there about a year in my first role, they said, "Hey, we got this contract with Apple Computer, and we have 6 states of service that we need to cover, and we need a leader." And I'm like, in my mind, I'm going, I have no leadership experience. What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. I'm like, let me jump off that deep end. And
Great.
And no coaching experience at all, and just kind of said, okay, let's do this. And just kind of did, I did what most good leaders should do. In the early in their careers, reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And, I took that and I went, okay, how can I expand off that? And I said, well, what do you need to do? You need to help people. And so I took my experience of me being someone who knew nothing about leadership and said, I'm going to lead the way I would want to be led, which
Mm-hmm.
is lead from the front, do what your people do, and that way you can show them that you're not this person who sits up on a high horse and says, you go do this, you go do that, because there's a place for that, right, in the world. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also a lead from the front and show everybody that you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how it started. And here I am today.
Okay, there's so much to unpack with just that introduction. I mean, that is so fantastic. Actually, it reminded me a little bit, Steve, of my story.
Okay.
I found myself in a restaurant. Then I found myself learning an electronic health record to train doctors and clinical staff how to use something that I knew nothing about. But like my story is, I was super insecure. And I was like, I'm determined to figure this out. I love that you never even said anything about being insecure, but you were like, I know I can figure it out. And you took that step. Like even just walking up to that computer store that you're
Yeah.
like, can I have a job? Will you teach
Yeah.
me? I love that. I think because we have young listeners also, I think that's it. It's being bold enough to ask for something even when you're not qualified. You asked for an opportunity and you had no
I
qualifications.
had
You
zero
were get
qualifications.
It's amazing. And then you were given a leadership role. Again, they saw something in you, but you didn't have qualifications. And what did you do? You studied to become a great leader. And in like since then, it's not about climbing that corporate ladder. I think that doors just continue to open
Yeah.
when we are bold enough to walk it out. So kudos to you. I love the beginning of that
Yeah.
story. So you ended up getting a degree in
Yeah.
psychology, but you never pursued it. That was it.
No,
You were like,
no.
I'm
I
not going to be a psychiatrist.
Yeah, I never pursued it, and I'm okay with it. And I think I still I have that
Mhm.
tool set in my mind. And when I tell people, like, I work at a community health care center right now, and we do behavioral health and is one of our pillars. And it's funny because I'll be talking to the behavioral health people, like supporting them, and they're like, "Oh, what do what's your background?" And I'm like, "You really don't want to know." And they'll say, "Oh, come on, tell me." And I'll say, I have a master's in psychology, and they're like, "What? What are you doing in, technology?" And I'm like, "Because I love helping people."
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like,
I love that.
"Okay, you're doing it."
And they're
And
like, I
then,
don't get it.
but they really do because they're helping
Yeah.
people. I just figured out
Hmm.
another avenue to help people in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
So tell me more about your current role.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So
now here you are, because you just
yeah,
kind of made an introduction to that.
right. So I'm 30 years into this, and so had been unemployed for about a year and a half after another role got eliminated. No big deal. Mercy Community Healthcare opportunity came up. It was someone presented the role to me, and I said, I love this. I love helping people, and I think this is going to be a great opportunity for me to enhance the things that I do inside an organization by sharing my passion for supporting people and helping in an underserved community inside an organization.
I love that. So tell me more about like Mercy Community Health as a whole. I understand a role open, but
Yeah,
was it the compassion that they lead with that kind of drew you to that organization?
it
Like, what
is.
was it about that Yeah, tell me more
Yeah,
about
it
that.
totally is. So, I went and I spoke to them, and they were like, "We're looking for someone who has a heart to serve in the community and is not afraid to give back to an organization that is desperately in need of help." They had they had moved from one EHR to another, and they needed some help rolling out and fixing a bunch of wrinkles in the system. And they said, we want someone who can come in and really put their hands into it, get dirty, and make a difference. And I said, I'm your guy. And I just really, really love that. Just the whole piece of trying to figure out what's broken and then how to fix it in a manner that, doesn't make a huge impact to the organization, but in a positive way.
I love it. So we've talked before. So I know that you lead a team of people.
Uh-huh.
How do you give back to them? What do you think it makes a good leader? Because you go back to those 7 habits of
Yeah.
highly effective
Yeah.
people or seven, or
Yeah. Yeah.
and wanting to not only lead, but now, when you are put in the leadership role, like what is your advice to leaders or
Yeah.
what, I mean, obviously caring for people, but I want to know Steve's approach. Like,
Yeah.
even now, how do you empower them and inspire them to almost surpass you in your
Yeah.
leadership? You're like, beat me. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like,
Right. Right. So I think one of the things you really have to do is to give your people a pathway to get better. What does that mean to me? So we don't have a huge training budget, right? We're a community healthcare center. We're a not-for-profit. And so one of the things I've done to my employees is I've said, I want you to go pick out something that you want to learn, and then I will personally pay for it. Whether that's through Coursera or whatever learning tool that we have that's, reasonably priced, of course. I'm not a multimillionaire, but and if I was, I would share in another manner.
oh,
But I think it is leading by showing them that learning and getting better will help their career path, and it will also support the organization in a way that makes them more effective. And ultimately, if that means they leave and they go get a better job, then I did my job.
I love that. I mean, gosh, you're reminding me of a lot of my personal leaderships, like
Mhm.
things that I just believe in. Because a lot of times I will do the same thing and I'll train my staff or give them tools. And I get, well, you're building their resume. They're going to leave. What if
Mhm.
and I'm like, great. If they get a promotion, I did my job. I
Right,
did do my job. And
right.
at the same time, it actually usually creates more loyalty than it
Yeah,
does anything else, to where they want to continue to work alongside you,
yeah,
and I think that speaks for itself in
yeah,
general.
yeah. Because I think what I try to do as well is, um, I have a support technician that works for me, and great person, um, somewhat apprehensive. So I try to take my time and stop and say, what can I do to help you? He's like, well, I don't know what to do in this situation. Well, let's talk through it. You know, you don't have to, if you don't want to deal with that person, whatever that person is, I'll take care of it. But if you would rather learn how to handle the situation, let me teach you. And here's what I would do. And then walk them through it step by step and then say, are you comfortable with handling the situation, whether it be difficult or not difficult? And if they say yes, then make sure they get through it and they're comfortable with it, because then you've just given them something to grow with.
Yeah, I love that. So let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Let's jump into healthcare IT a little
Yeah.
bit deeper. Curious your perspective on healthcare IT as a whole, both where it's been, where it is today, and where it's going, and even flavoring that with AI.
Yeah.
Here we are, AI, holy moly, it's going fast, faster than I think we all expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I remember ChatGPT just being introduced, and it's like, no, it's been around for a few years already. And I'm like, what is happening? And then
Right.
you see all this new technology and all these new things happening. I would love to hear your thoughts
Yeah.
around, specifically, you've been around for 30 years, your background is IT, you're working for a healthcare IT organization, all the things. Talk to
Yeah.
me. What do you think?
Yeah, so I went through, gosh, back in the mid 2000s, went through a PeopleSoft environment that was a call center. We worked for an organization that did high-end radiology approvals. Saw that, kind of blossom where you're dealing with very young software, and then moving into an organization next that was highly driven around SAP and, next step up in the organization. And now, moving on years, went through some radiology work. And so I've just seen these platforms get bigger and faster and stronger and more complex, I think is one of the key things. But then when you nowadays add on that AI piece, I think now you're seeing this, it's like multiplying in growth. It used to be you had changes that were like 6 months in a year, and now it's like, it's not even quarters now. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like eighths. It's like stuff is
Right.
changing so fast.
Yeah.
So where our environment is eClinical Works, they have highly invested in AI. We have adopted that. You know, a lot of people have used Dragon for many years
Yep.
for doing dictation,
Dictation.
and and you know, eClinical Works has adopted AI, and we have too. We said, okay, we'll embrace it, and we
Yeah.
work with our users. And I think as a whole, that's one of the tools that I'm trying to get my team to adopt is use the tools that you have around you. ChatGPT, great tool. Use it for what helps you complete your job. You know, it shouldn't be a crutch. You should still have thinking skills, but embrace it as a tool to get better and to make the organization better, which will in
Hmm.
turn help us give better patient care in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How are you keeping up with all of it? Like, do you
Oh
have any
gosh.
tricks or tips or, yeah, I mean, especially because it's like you sitting in that seat, that it's everyone's kind of looking to their fearless leader of
Yeah.
saying, what do we need to learn? How do we learn? And how do we adopt it so quickly?
So one of the things I've done is I signed up for a course in AI. You know, what do I need to do? How to learn prompts, how to get the most out of the tools that I use on a daily basis to get better. And then, you know, once I got through my course, I went to my people and I said, "Would you like to take this course?" And they were
Mm,
like,
mm.
"Yes, I would love that." And I said, "Okay, well, sign up, set your date, and then let's talk about it when you're done, and let's
I
figure
love
out
that.
how can you how can you use that tool in your daily life to make
Yep.
your life better and better in your work environment."
I love that. It really is amazing how much it gives back time. And time is so valuable.
Hmm.
And it's when we can figure out how to create more processes and efficiencies utilizing
Hmm.
tools like AI,
Yeah,
it's mind blowing.
yeah.
What
I remember years ago spending like an hour writing an email about a process. And now
Yes.
I give like 5 prompts to Chat
Y-
GPT and it
Yes.
creates this document for me and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I have my life
That is
back."
yes. Yes. Or, when you have especially like processes or plans, but then also it's like ideas. It's like, how do I formulate this so that I can then roll it out to my team?
Yeah,
And then it becomes like your thought partner and helps you formulate this idea. And then you're able to implement it to create a better process.
right.
So I love that. And I love that you said, like, going back to you learning, that you learn first and then encourage your team to learn. And then you guys can grow together. I think
Yes.
that's a phenomenal tip. Where do you feel are like the missing pieces, specifically with healthcare IT, that maybe where people are missing the gap or things that the organization hasn't adopted yet, or that, is on the horizon? Any thoughts on those things?
Think, gosh, I think how do we best give that technology to our end users? And not just providers, right? Because you can give the provider is the first person you're going to give technology to, right? Because they're
Mm,
frontline, they're the ones how you make money. And um, I think how do we give that to our nurses? And one of the things we're looking at is the solution we use for our voice over IP is an AT&T product. And in that, they have some call center solutions because we do have a very small call center where we triage people calling in. And how can we offer a technology tool where the nurse doesn't have to sit there and be a typist or a stenographer, and they can have a tool that listens to the conversation, and then when they're done helping the person, it spits out, here's what that conversation was, and then they can copy paste, edit however they need to, and then put that into the system of record.
right.
And that's where I think that missing piece is how do we get people that are frontline a tool that can help them solve a problem and make them work more efficiently?
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's such a good example. So, similar, one of the things the gaps that I see in the missing piece. So I've been in healthcare IT since 2004, so 22 years. And what makes me crazy is similar to like what you just said is if a new product's rolled out, if there's a new EHR, if there's a new upgrade, if there's whatever the product is, and then we have to get the front end to be able to utilize it.
Mhm.
How are we doing that? And I still see in organizations across the board, we send them to a classroom,
Right.
we send them a document, we send them to a Zoom call, and or we do nothing. And I just feel like there's such a better way to train, there's such a better way to empower and inspire than figuring out how we do that. Of course, this just is one of my passions. I just want to make learning more effective and efficient for organizations as a whole. So it does that very thing. It
Right.
inspires them to want to use their tools
Right.
when they don't know. Even going back to like you just said, how can I train my team better? And then
Yeah.
how do we get that and empower the end users? Because when you learn something, you feel empowered and inspired.
So my EMR manager, funny thing about him is he has adopted uh, AI in a big way. And so we'll get, technical documentation in from eClinicalWorks, and he'll take it and he'll dump it into ChatGPT and say, give me a breakdown, and it'll spit him out a document. And then he can create technical documents off that to share with providers or our nursing team on how they can do their job better. And then even as so far as to go to them and say, okay, I sent you a document. I know you don't read your email, quote unquote, because staff is difficult to read email all the time. And then go, can I give you a 5-second breakdown on what I sent you, and show them real quickly how to do that, as opposed to them going and reading this technical document and trying to figure it out themselves.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. I love that he's doing that too. It sounds
Yeah.
like your organization is just really trying
Yeah.
to adopt new technologies to improve overall care as a
Yeah.
whole, which at the end of the day, we all want. That's what
Yeah.
we want.
It's really funny because my CFO is that's who I report to, and she's old school, got a 10 key on her desk and still uses the tape and everything. One day I said, do you use ChatGPT? And she goes, well, yeah, I'll use it sometimes to like help me write an email. And I said, well, let me install the client on your desktop so you don't have to like go to ChatGPT website every time. And I've showed her a bunch of tips and tricks and given her like, how to use prompts. And it's so funny how you can help people adopt and they're like, my life is so much better now. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yes. I'm like, think about, you're doing a quarter of the work in that, whatever that piece is, by having someone else do, a machine do it for you, and use it
yeah,
as a tool and not be worried that it's going to take your job.
yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. Okay, so 5 years from now, Steve, 5 years from now, what's your role? What do you see yourself? Like, even if you're at the same
Mhm.
organization, like what does 5 years down the road look like for you, for IT, for healthcare, for cybersecurity, all the things? Like, what do you think?
So I think 5 years from now, I think we'll still have people in place. I don't think that's going to change, because you still have to touch computers, you still have to have people
Yes.
interact. I think there'll be a lot more use of AI. Think the healthcare industry not immune to the jobs being replaced by AI. I just think it's in other parts of the organization where you're not interacting with patients. I think it could ha-
Hmm.
I think it could happen on the back end,
Hmm.
maybe in some type of billing scenario.
Hmm.
And I think, think more, and also on the cybersecurity side, you'll see more of the interaction between AI and it interpreting your email and
Hmm.
what's going to be good for the organization or what's going to be bad for the organization, and how's it keeping you safe, and letting it do its machine learning from within your organization. Does that make sense?
Yep, very much so. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. I agree. It's going to be an interesting ride, that's for sure. Because,
Oh my goodness,
in
yes.
It's going to be interesting. So, for the younger generation that's studying either healthcare administration, healthcare IT, or even just IT in general, information technology, they're in school, they're in university, maybe,
Mhm.
getting their master's degree. What's your wisdom to them? What's your advice?
Embrace the technology. I think
Mm,
that's the biggest piece. Embrace the
hmm
technology and don't be scared that it's going to take your job. And by that, I mean, if you embrace it and you go learn it, then you're a part of it and you can push it forward and make yourself valuable to an organization. And then I
mm,
think the other piece to that is remember that there's a person on the other side. There's always
mm,
going to be
mm.
people that need the support.
Yeah.
And if you're kind and compassionate to the people you work with, they're going to be kind and compassionate to you as well. Yeah.
And I think like going back, I love that. I know and like just your compassion for others
Yeah.
in general obviously just shines through your leadership and your role. But I love what you just said. There's someone on the other side. And I think when we think about technology
Mhm.
and AI and the tools, we think that it is going to remove people. And just like you said, it's not going to. And no matter what, there is someone on the other side. There is
Yeah.
a patient, there is a person, there is, and that's the whole point is that if we can use technology to
Mhm.
improve the outcome of someone else, and there is somebody both on the technical
Right.
side
Right.
and the patient side, then it's done its job, and
Yeah.
you've done your job.
Right. Right. I agree
Yeah.
100%. I mean, because at the end of the day, people are people and there's technology in the middle and
Yeah.
you can't remove the technology because we're too far down that path, but how can I use it, leverage it and make it work for me
Yeah.
and help in the end help better patient service delivery.
Love it.
Yeah.
Last one of the last questions. If you could solve one big problem in our space, IT world, what would be your solution? What would be the big problem that you would solve?
Oh my goodness. Think helping people adopt technology.
Mm,
And by that, I mean, you've been in this space for a while. I've been in this space for a while. You go in, you put a product in, and then you have to do an upgrade. And then you hear the groans from the organization. Oh, we have to do this upgrade. That means I have to learn something new. How
mm.
can I help them adopt the technology so that they're not scared of the upgrade that's coming? And
I love it.
I think if I can figure out something to help people not be scared of that, I think
Hmm.
that you can solve a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I love
Because
that.
because as technology people, we're not scared of it, right? We're the ones who are
Yeah.
implementing. We're out there pushing the edge and pushing the envelope and willing to change and willing to be broken at some point and go, okay, we got to fix this tonight or stay late and do the patch or whatever it is. And the people who are out there delivering the service for patient care, they don't see that you're helping them make their job easier. They just see it as a tool. How can we, that's my goal, is to how can we help them see that tool as helping them and not making their job harder?
I love what you just said.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, I don't know, it just shows your heart for the end user and
Yeah.
why you're so good at your job.
Yeah.
You're like, because it basically starts with you but ends with them. And so the better
Right.
that you can make their job,
Right.
the better they can see their patients. Something that we're doing is helping organizations build bite-sized e-learning, like micro
Okay.
e-learning videos for like
Yeah.
upgrades to where you just, what was the change? And you make it in a 1 to 3 minute video, e-learning video, and then you create that repository for them. So they always have something to come back to. And it only takes 1 to 3 minutes to watch, and it just inspires and empowers them to feel they don't have to put in a ticket or call you and not, feel silly about like, I know I should know how to do this, but I don't,
Right.
instead they can just go look at these like micro learning videos
I
or
love
something
that.
that,
I love that.
yeah, that's because again, my passion, like that was a passion of mine too, is how can we help? And I think about how do we learn right now? We go
Yeah.
on YouTube and we find the smallest video that shows me how to change my oil or whatever it is, and so it's like doing the same thing in healthcare. How do we create something that we can just go quick and watch a short? if
Yeah.
you will, on those changes.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a true honor and pleasure having you. Is there
Yeah. Thank
anything
you.
else that you would leave the audience with when it comes to leadership development, IT, pursuing their dreams, and or even executive leadership that are leading big teams? Any final words
Yeah.
of wisdom?
I think, yeah, my final word of wisdom is love what you do, because if you don't, you can't inspire anybody else.
It's good. That's real good.
Yeah. Because
That's
if you
really good.
yeah, if you don't love what you're doing, you're not gonna lead well, and you're not gonna be a great leader. And the whole
But what
point is,
happens when you don't love what you're doing, Steve?
yeah.
What you like? What then? Now then what? Where they're like,
Uh,
no, I'm
I
not
think,
loving what I'm doing.
yeah, then I think that's when you go, I gotta change.
Mm,
Yeah, I found myself in that position
mm.
in 2018. I wasn't loving what I was doing anymore, and I needed a change, and I did it. I was, you gotta go outside that comfort zone and go,
Yeah.
okay, it's time for a change. Not loving what I'm
Wow.
doing. Um,
I love that. Such good advice.
yeah.
Because don't we stay complacent
Oh,
or we stay too long?
we do.
We
We
stay too
stay.
long. I think,
Yeah.
we do. We
Yeah.
do. And I love what you said. Like, you only get one life. So, like, be happy, be
Right.
successful, pursue that, pursue
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It has been a joy talking to you
Yes.
and
Thank
getting
you
to
so
know
much.
you. Thank you for leading so well and
Yeah.
for leading with compassion and integrity. And your story is so inspiring, very inspiring. I
Yeah.
think everybody needs to hear it. So
All
thank
right.
you for your time.
Yes. Thank you so
I
much.
look forward to staying in touch.
All right. Thank you so much, April. Have a great day.
Every leader has a story, and every story reveals another piece of the bigger picture. What if the missing piece wasn't something you had to find, but something you were meant to become? Subscribe, share, and keep leading with intention. I'm April Reed, and I'll see you in the next conversation on The Missing Piece.